On behalf of Rosedale United Church and Leaside United Church here in Toronto, welcome to our children's program, The Stories of Maker's Nest. Good morning! I'm Roberta from Rosedale, and it is so great to be with you. I hope that you had a nice, relaxing summer, and you're ready to get started with school and the fall. Today, we are starting the school year off and our fall off with the Fruits of the Spirit series, where we explore what it means to have the gifts and fruits of the Spirit that God has given us. Our handy-dandy assistant Couscous will be with us as we make these beautiful fruit baskets out of construction paper. And we'll hear a story about a grandmother and granddaughter as they tell about the importance of the fruits of the Spirit. You'll need your Read, Wonder, Listen Bible if you have one, but if you don't worry. We'll go through the story together. Before we begin, let us start our morning as we do each Sunday with prayer.
We light the Christ candle each week as a reminder of the light of Christ that shines within each and every one of us.
Let us say our opening prayer together. Dear God, we thank you for today. We thank you for tomorrow. We thank you for our brains that help us think, for our bodies that help us move, and our hearts that help us love. Amen. For today's activity, we are going to need just a few of our staples here at the Maker's Nest. Construction paper in whatever colors you like. You only need about 3 sheets, but any colors that you want. Pair of scissors, some tape or some glue for the end, and a friend. We'll see you soon.
Last spring, we learned about a man called Paul who learned from Jesus how to lead the church and how to teach others the importance of God's Word. Paul was not the only one who taught about Jesus or who started a new church. Other people did this work too. Some of them admired Paul and agreed with what he taught. Others did not. And so as time passed and more churches grew, they disagreed on some things. They fought. Even after Paul died, his own followers struggled to figure out how to follow Jesus in a changing world. There were new questions and problems they had never been asked to solve before. They asked themselves, what would Paul do? What would Paul say? But they did not always come up with the same answers. This next story imagines what might have been like for people in one of those churches many years after Paul died. Like many families, they sometimes disagreed and even fought, but they always tried to remember that the greatest and most important thing is love. When grandmother came into the garden to pick some pears, she found Chloe curled up on a branch in a pear tree, crying. "Chloe," she called, "is something wrong? Justin says that I can't be a teacher in the church because I'm a girl," sobbed Chloe. Grandmother frowned. Justin is repeating what others have told him. Some people think churches should be like good Roman families, with the father at the head. They have forgotten about all the women who were teachers and leaders in the beginning. Lydia and Phoebe and Priscilla and Junia. Your great-grandmother, whom you're named after, she was a teacher herself here in Ephesus. She worked with Paul himself. Chloe climbed down and sat at the base of the tree. Why do people argue so much? Families often argue, Grandmother replied. Church families are no different. We are all trying to follow Jesus. But the world changes, and we need to figure out how to do that in new times and places. What do people argue about? Chloe asked. Lots of things, Grandmother said. Can followers of Jesus be soldiers in the Roman army? Are there foods we must not eat? People with whom we must not share our table? Does God love one group of people more than another? Chloe shook her head. I wish everyone would stop arguing. Some arguments are worth having, said Grandmother, but remember this. What is the most important thing about being a follower of Jesus? What did he tell us? Love one another as I have loved you. Grandmother reached and picked up some juicy pears for her basket. How do you know when a tree like this is healthy and has good roots? When it gives good pears, answered Chloe. Exactly. And when people have their roots deep in the spirit, it shows. They have good pears, giggled Chloe. Yes, Grandma laughed. The fruits of the Spirit are joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, and love, cried Chloe. And love, echoed her grandmother as she gave Chloe a hug. When you see these fruits, you can be sure the Spirit is at work. You know, Chloe, some people argue about when and how Jesus will come again. But I think the Spirit of Jesus is in every place and every time. Whenever you do the things Jesus did, he is there. Whenever you love your neighbor, when you share your food, when you visit someone who's sick or lonely, when you make peace or make the circle bigger, Jesus is there. Chloe bit into a pear. It was warm from the sun and juice ran down her chin. What in the world could be more wonderful than good fruit?
Today's craft is all about the start of the Fruits of the Spirit series, and we need a thing to hold those fruits of the Spirit, which for me makes me think of baskets. And we are going to make baskets out of construction paper. It's very easy to do. We're going to start with 3 pieces of construction paper. I'm choosing different colors. You can do the same color, you can do 2 colors, you can do as many or as few as you want. And then from here, we're going to draw out and cut strips along the long end so that you have a bunch of strips of paper roughly the same size. I like to do it by starting with 1 piece of paper and folding it, being like, yeah, that's about enough. And then I will flip that over and fold it again, like an accordion fan, so that it pops out a little bit like this. And then these 2 are going to be the exact same size. So flipping and folding and flipping and folding all the way along, and then we cut the strips down. If this feels a little bit weird, you can also just take a ruler and measure out, maybe it's a couple centimeters, maybe it's an inch, and just draw the lines and cut them out that way. That's totally fine as well. But now we're going to take some scissors and cut along these lines to create even strips. Perfect. We have 1 pile of strips here. I am going to take 1 of these strips and put it over here, and that gives us about the same width for the purple strips as well. What I will do is flip and fold with that orange strip on top so that I can see that's going to be roughly the same length. And again, flip and fold and flip and fold and cut them all out just as we've done before. We now have a bunch of paper strips and we are going to weave them together. Some of you might have done this at school already, but if you haven't done this at home yet, this is an excellent time to start. I am going to start with my base, and I'm going to do maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I could work with that. Maybe 5. There. So this will be my base, and then we will put in other papers going this way, weaving in and out. So I'll start with the red here, and it goes over or under, then over, under, over, and under again. Thank you for helping, Couscous. Now, Couscous, are you going to help me with this? Thank you. Next time, because we start, remember that this one has the red strip going under, so this strip needs to go over. So over, under, over, under, and then over. If a cat walks over your craft, feel free to take a second and just straighten it out a smidgen. No rush, no worries whatsoever. The great thing about weaving is that if you do feel like you've made a mistake or you want to fix something, this is a great craft to do that. Because you can keep moving things around until you finally tape and glue it all down. It's all good. Let's do a purple now. And this one we went over, so we go under. While we're here, how are you doing? I know that school starts very soon. It starts in a couple of days if you're watching this on the Sunday, right? That could be a little scary. Maybe it's exciting, you haven't seen your friends in a long time. Maybe you're worried about the teacher that you got or the way you have to walk to school. Maybe it's a new grade, and sometimes new grades can be scary. However you're feeling about school right now is totally fine. There's going to be lots of other students that feel the same way too. That feel excited and nervous and happy and scared, confused, tired. One of the things that we can do is that we can bring our gifts to them. So if we focus on one, let's say joy. One of the gifts of the Spirit that we're talking about in our story is joy. When you say that you feel joy, what does that feel like? To me, it feels like a little ball of warm in me. Almost like I had nice warm hot chocolate, not too hot, it doesn't burn me, it just feels really good. And then I feel like I have to share that with others. I have to let others feel joy as well. How about something like peace? What does peace feel like to you? It might feel like it's calm. Like your heart isn't racing too hard. You can feel your breath a little bit. No. Flip it over. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes the paper moves a little bit. So we gotta fix it. Looks good to me. Then we're gonna squish it in nice and tight. The final thing I want to do is just tape the four corners. Put a little tape under here, little tape under here, little tape under here, and a little tape under here. You can absolutely use glue. Tape just works a little bit faster, and you guys don't want to see glue drying. So I went all the way along the edge, and wherever these points were, just along the edge, I didn't bother with the middle. I put a little tape in between just to keep it all stuck there. But what I can do now is take this edge, fold it, take this edge, fold it, this edge, fold it, and this edge, fold it. And then we can fold all of these edges up to create a corner. What we're going to do with the corner sections is we first fold up like this, and then we fold up like this, and you'll notice that this corner is sticking out a little bit. I am going to take this corner, pinch a little bit, and fold it in so that's just stuck along the side here, and tape this down. And now it looks like we have a cute little basket. All this basket needs is a handle. So I'm going to take a piece of paper and just tape it to either side like a little handle. Now it just looks a little bit cleaned up. And over the next few weeks, we will be talking about some of the fruits that go into this basket, like joy, that warm feeling that makes us feel so happy that we can share that with others, and how that comes from God, or peace, which is that calm feeling. It's when everything feels right and everything feels nice and calm and easy. We can share that with others as well. And there's many other gifts that go into this basket that we can both say thank you to God who gives these gifts to us, and also share with others. Until then, keep this basket safe, and we will see you next week when we put stuff in it. Couscous, I think someone left you something in your basket. Is it Joy? Oh, it's a treat. Close enough. We hope that you had a great time today. I know that I did. Didn't you, Couscous? I think you did as well. I can't wait to see you next week as we go into the story and learn a little bit more about some of the gifts that God has given us. Until then, remember that you are important. You are loved. You are enough. We'll see you next week.